Thank you for being here with us today. It's been a beautiful day so far. How are you, Isabella?
I am going well. I'm excited, but I'm tired. It's been a long day, but I've enjoyed the conference so far. So I'm excited about this particular panel.
Lovely. And how has the conference been for you so far?
It's been quite informative, to be quite honest. There's a lot of current information that's out there, and it's been displayed in a way that, you know, it's easier to understand for a layperson myself. I'm not a medical doctor, but there's a lot of good information out there, and there's a lot of what gets me excited is that so much progress has been made over the years, and it's really good to see. Really good to see. I'm glad, you know, there's been lots of changes and, you know, care for people that have this particular blood disorder.
Yeah. How are you, Natalie?
I'm good, thanks. I was trying to join through Woover and it just wasn't happening. So I clicked on the join Zoom and then I got in here and I could see you and Isabella talking, but it seems like you could not hear me because I was asking.
Oh, no.
No, we couldn't.
And then I was promoted as a panelist. So yes, here I am.
All right. And just maybe we can start the conversation as we wait for the other panelists to join us. Thank you for joining us here today, and thank you for the great work that you do as carers, caring for people who are living with sickle cell. And I'm going to start with you, Natalie. What has the experience been for you as a carer?
Okay, so the experience for me from the very beginning, you know, it's hard. You know, why is it hard? Is that, you know, any woman, you know, when you learn that you are pregnant, you're expecting a baby, you know, there's so much excitement, there's so much hope and expectancy, and you know, you're just thinking, you know, if you didn't do well, if you didn't do too well with the first one, you know, you didn't scar them too much, you scarred them a little bit, you definitely want to do better with the next one. You know, there's so much hope. And when this particular diagnosis comes, you find that life, you know, your life expectations, I mean, not just for yourself and for this, you know, precious being who's in your care, definitely changes. And in terms of that roller coaster, you know, getting to understand what the condition is, you know, I will definitely say for myself, the first 3 years, constant anxiety, and who knows, maybe I was also dealing with postnatal depression, you know, I definitely don't discount that. It was hard, you know, learning, you know, how to manage, what to look out for. Yeah, it can be really challenging. And even today, you know, you find that, you know, as a parent with children, you know, things evolve, some things become easier, some things become different. And with the added layer of sickle cell disease, you know, it's even more complex. I heard earlier when Karen was saying that on the other care, on the panel for people living with sickle cell disease, what she said was, you know, for a sickle cell parent, a headache is not just a headache. You know, you have to think ahead, you know, are there temperatures? You know, what's going on? You know, have they drunk enough today? What was the weather like? You know, I remember the early years where I would basically swear by the weather. You know, I would get intense anxiety when, you know, it looked as it is right now in Melbourne, which is a bit gloomy, you know, and yeah, having to deal with all of those things. You know, it is hard. And then you just wonder, you know, what is the future going to be like for my child? Because, you know, it has been going on for so long.
At what age did you get the diagnosis?
So my child was pretty young, you know, I mean, she was, gosh, maybe 3 months old, when I got the diagnosis. Yeah, and I'll tell you, literally, it does feel like a death, you know, because you have to readjust how you are going to move forward.
Right. Isabella, your children are a little bit older.
Yes, they certainly are.
What has the experience this far been like from the diagnosis, and at what age did you get the diagnosis?
So firstly, my children are adult children, for those people out there listening. Alexis was 3 years old. They thought she had leukemia, of all things. They weren't suspecting sickle cell at all. In fact, the GP had contacted us to say who has got sickle cell thalassemia, and we said we don't even know how to pronounce that, let alone who's got it. In finding that, you know, she was diagnosed at that age, Zach was only about 17 months old at the time. He also had to get tested. We all got to get tested. And Natalie, you're right. When you get the news, you're a young couple, you know, you're excited about, you know, your young family and all the things that they can achieve. You're right in saying that it was something similar to a death, you know. You start grieving and I'm worried. And then, of course, misinformation doesn't help coming from the healthcare professionals not knowing enough of it, because it's not prevalent here. So it wasn't really their fault. It's because of the prevalency of it here in Australia. And I guess they were relating it to different cultural groups as well. So when they saw us with a European background, they weren't expecting, you know, the diagnosis that they were telling us about.
Yeah.
Basically, that's how I felt, the same as you, Natalie, at that time. And not knowing about it.
It's even interesting. It's interesting when you say that, you know, looking at your European background, because my feeling at the time was, oh my gosh, you know, we've just moved here.
Yeah.
And I think I knew that it was a rare disease here in Australia. And all I'm thinking, how is my child going to be cared for? You know, do we have to move? You know, we probably would even be better off in Africa. I was thinking, you know, maybe, you know, we should move to the US because, and then yes, don't, and and at the time, you know, don't get on the internet because, you know, you will wrestle with all your feelings of, you know, is this really happening? Because yes, I went through a lot of that, you know, maybe, you know, they just got it wrong. Maybe this is not, you know, this is just not true. And the internet does not help, you know, with all, you know, with everyone's experience, which can be really personal and different. And because that's also the thing with sickle cell disease, no one experience is really the same. Yes,
exactly,
you know,
right. I have two children. Yeah, and they both have different experiences. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And so as the carer, as a mother, you're worried and you're constantly wanting to look after your child, you know, as that child's caregiver. But now when there's sickle cell on top of it, how do you look after yourself so then you can be able to look after the people that you're caring for? I'll start with you, Isabella.
I guess you don't think about yourself. I didn't think about myself. I think that when you had young children with this particular blood disorder and, you know, having sickling crisis, and then, or even just going for, you know, a blood test or, you know, something as simple as that, you always had to have a smile on your face. You always had to be that sense of, you know, making sure that your children weren't worried, because if you look worried, they would be worried. So you'd always say, okay, no, that's okay. You know, it's going to be fine. Just really quickly, always with a smile on your face. So you don't really have time to sort of think about yourself, because you're always worried about, you know, your children, other people, how they're feeling, rather than how you're feeling, you know. And yeah, how do I look after myself now as an adult? I guess, do I still have time? I do give myself a little bit of time and enjoy, you know, some things in my life that make me smile. I love sport, so, you know, I'm a part of, you know, sport as well. But I'm always there in the back of my mind going, will they still need help? You know, do they need help? Yep, I better go. So
yeah, Natalie,
something to make yourself relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, Natalie, how do you look after you?
Okay. Yeah. So if I go back to the beginning, I'd say, yeah, a few things have definitely changed. In the beginning, it was hard. You know, I definitely felt like I was just living in a constant state of anxiety. And yes, like Isabella says, you know, it's up to you, yeah, to, you know, to give your child that reassurance, even though you're not okay, but you have to present as okay, you know, so that, you know, it becomes easier for them as well. And over the years, as I've learned more, you know, and I will definitely say, and that's probably where advocacy starts, you know, self-advocacy, you know, learn more about the condition so you know how to manage, you know, the different symptoms, and you are aware of what to look for, you know, just to lessen that anxiety. So over the years, I mean, there are things that I always enjoyed, you know, it will be, you know, reading books, or yes, also, you know, doing exercise. Yeah, I do enjoy that. So yeah, you know, those things do help. They do help, but yeah, it's just, you know, it's a constant. You don't even think about it. You just it's one of those things. You know, when it happens, for me, for example, now it's if there is something that has to do with ACD at that point of my child, you know, we pull it out. It's kind of like, you know, a drawer, you know, pulling out a box out of a drawer. We pull it out, we deal with it, and then, you know, we just, yeah, we move on, because at the end of the day, what I also want for her is that, you know, she knows that she can still live with this, even though there are times when it is challenging, and we're not going to discount that or ignore it. But, you know, life, you do also have to, yes, look after yourself, and I have to also provide that example.
Yeah, true. Isabella, I'm just curious, what has been one of the moments that has stuck with you? Because, and I ask this question because I want a parent who's listening to us to know that no matter how hard it looks, you know, you go through it and you come on the other side. What is that one moment for you that you remember, other than the moment of diagnosis?
I think the moment, and it continues to help, is just watching my kids grow, and growing that this is not who they are, but it is a part of, you know, of them, and they're living a somewhat normal life. And I guess that sort of sticks with me, where sometimes my kids go, oh, I forgot I have sickle cell, you know, because of something exciting that they're doing. And so that brings me joy that that's the case. They're not living with it, you know, it's always here. I guess in the back of their minds it might be there, but the thing that sticks with me is when they say, oh, I forgot I had sickle cell, I should, you know, make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So that, I guess that's probably a big positive for me, that they are living a good life no matter what. And we're very lucky here in Australia, where the healthcare system can provide that sense of security for them, and being able to live a normal life.
What about you, Natalie? What has been that moment that has stayed with you?
Gosh, the moment that has stuck with me, to say that this is all not hell. Yeah, and it's not really. I mean, I think just like Isabella, you know, it's the good moments when you're able to see, you know, your child thrive. You know, so for example, I know for a lot of parents who, you know, whose children have sickle cell disease, you know, there will be, just like all of us do, you know, we'll be very protective over, you know, some of the things that, you know, the children can do, you know, like swimming, or, you know, when it's cold outside, I'll probably don't go. You know, we've gotten to the point where, you know, my child, for example, I remember one episode where we had actually been in a hospital, and the day we got released, we had been there for 2 days. And on the day when she got released, she was supposed to have a swimming lesson. So here I was thinking, okay, I will have to cancel that lesson because, you know, obviously, you know, we just come out of the hospital. And she's like, but mommy, I'm fine, you know. It's like, and unfortunately in that particular instance, because, you know, we had not been in the hospital with something like a chest infection, I suppose, you know, then it would have been different. And she just made me see that, you know, something, you know, we just pick up and go, and she's very resilient. She just picks up and goes, you know. I'm impressed. She's only 8 years old, but some of the wisdom and the resilience that they even grow, you know, that, you know, they will be okay. And my job is really to just keep on supporting and make sure that, she still sees the beauty in her journey, as challenging as it can be at times.
Lovely words there, Natalie.
Isabella, what was the impact of the diagnosis on your relationship?
On my relationship with my husband, you're talking about? Yeah. For us, I guess looking at over the years, we've become much closer, much supportive of each other. I'm his rock, he's my rock. We can talk through things. I remember in the earlier days, I guess, when you were asking before, how did you take care of your house? I guess talking with him about what happened during, treatment or something like that. Always a good listener, always supporting us and the family, even though he's probably feeling just as sad himself. So I guess it's actually made, we've known each other since we were 18 years old. We started our family in our mid-20s, and he's still here. So we must be doing something right, especially with all the challenges we've had. We didn't have just one child, we had two children, but we also have a third one who's just a carrier, the youngest sibling of them all. And if I'm at hospital, he would be there looking after the youngest. That in itself, takes a toll. So I can't really say anything terrible but only positive, that he's been my rock, and in turn I'm hoping he'll say I've been his. So,
yeah. What about you, Natalie? What has the impact been on your relationship?
The impact, I think it has been, I definitely won't say that, this is easy. It's always difficult, especially, I think I probably had a harder time dealing with the fact that, my child had become sick through something that I carried, even though I had no control over, this particular gene trait, which I sometimes call my superpower against malaria. But yeah.
It is our safety against malaria.
Yes. But, but at the same time, as, we basically had to rely on each other, and we do also have another daughter. And, when you have to deal with things like one person being in the hospital and one having to be at home, you have to work together, and also for, even for the family foundation, for that sense of security for the children, you have to work together, you have to get closer. So as a family, we've definitely also become closer. Yeah. But I can definitely understand that a diagnosis like this can really be challenging, because we have we have heard of couples who could just not withstand this particular test, and it all floundered. So I'm glad that, we're still standing here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, as female and male, we process our emotions differently. Isabella, having two children, a boy and a girl, was that process different for them?
Oh, I think so, because they both presented differently. The boy was always the one that was actually presenting with sickling crises a lot. And the other, and the older one, the girl, wasn't having sickling crisis. She was presenting in a different way, where she's always low in hemoglobin. There's been times when they've both been in hospital together, side by side, in the bed, me in the middle. That's hard, watching both of them, knowing that the third one's at home. So processing and actually speaking to them differently, yes, I guess, with Zach being the one that was always having the sickling crisis mainly, always being there to try and reassure him, working through it, getting him to breathe was one way of working with him. And with Alexis was, I remember one time, which was 5 years old, her very first transfusion, because she had low hemoglobin, was on her birthday, her 5th birthday. That's right. And you have to go in there with this face and sing happy birthday. And they were great at hospital. So you're always, I guess, trying to make it a happy moment rather than for both of them, regardless of what they were going through at the time. So the process is different depending on what was going on. But always with, a strong, like we're going to get through this, you know, you're going to be okay. That's okay to feel that way. It's all right that sometimes they were angry, so you'd have to work through them with that, you know, but always reassuring them that it was okay to feel the way you're feeling and that we will work through it together. You're not alone, I guess, for both cases. Yeah.
Natalie, speak to a mother who have just had a diagnosis and they're just in that moment.
I'll tell them, you know, it's not the end of the world, not at all. As Isabella mentioned earlier, she's got older children, much older than mine is. She's clearly seen, you know, a lot of changes. Sometimes it seems like the changes are slow to come, but they're definitely there. They are happening. If a child is born with sickle cell disease today in Australia, you know, their chances are good. You know, it is a manageable chronic condition. I would say, you know, to that mom, educate yourself. You know, your child is still the same, you know, beautiful child that you had hoped for, you know, and treat them as such, you know, be there for them. If you educate yourself, it makes it easier for you to also even deal with those emotions, you know, which can be hard, you know, when you have to deal with a child who has a chronic condition. So I would definitely say, you know, hang in there. Yes, sometimes, you know, it's something that you will have to deal with, but life can still be great. Yeah.
Yeah. We do have a video from one of the other parents. So we'll run that video.
Okay, my name is Sylvia B. Mwansa, or simply Sunshine Sylvia. The name that I have become, the name that has become to be known because of my sunshine nature and the energy that I derive from the sun. So as a caregiver of my son, who is a warrior, he's 32 years old and is going to be 33 this December. Being a caregiver of a warrior has really given me energy to do things that I normally would not be doing. In fact, why I stand here is because I'm a caregiver of a warrior, and I'm trying to share that when you've got a warrior, you can do anything that you need to be doing. But one thing that you need to be doing is really paying attention to the needs of the warrior, and especially if your warrior is young. Because what I used to do when my son was young is not what I do now. But as a caregiver, you really have to pay attention to see that there are these changes that are happening, or some, you know, a child is in pain. And once you recognize that, then you'll be able to sort out you know, his condition or her condition. As a caregiver, you have to educate your child to know when they are going to have a crisis. And for me, the experience that I've had is we socialized him to actually say, when you ask him, his name is Chileshe, or we call him Chichi. What, Chichi, how are you? He will be able to tell you exactly how he's feeling at that particular time. If he says, I'm well, then you know that he is well, because he's one person who knows what to say when you ask him, how are you feeling? So he will tell you, he knows when he's supposed to, you know, to take medication, which kind of medication, of what kind of pain, because apparently the stages of pain differ, you know, when they're going to have a crisis. So he will be taking a Panadol if he's just feeling like, you know, something is going to go wrong. And then he will say, today I need to watch me. You need to watch me. I must finish my water in good time so that I don't get dehydrated. And so everyone is paying attention. So as a caregiver, you really have to pay attention to what your child needs, and also look at them, you know, so that you are able to identify those traits that you know that today my child, we actually coined a name that, Chiche is looking bent, meaning he is going to, he's not feeling too well. So you look at him, he's looking bent, and so you have to do something about it. So as a caregiver, you must have an eagle's eye so that you know exactly what it is that you can help with that child. The biggest challenge is actually when you manage to actually get admitted at the hospital. That is the greatest challenge. So you have to avoid going to the hospital, and we also have to socialize ourselves that as a caregiver, when a warrior says he wants to go to the hospital, it is a crisis. So even the people that are around him, whether at home or at the hospital, they have to know very well that this is a crisis, and they have to know how to deal with it. So the challenge would be when I go to the hospital and the hospital do not know what to do. It's like I am the one who is teaching them what to do when they're the ones who are supposed to be telling me what to do and alleviating the pain that my child has. So for the people, for the medical field, not to know what to do has been my greatest challenge in managing a sickle cell warrior. And that's the most challenging time. And I think all because I've been doing this for the last 32 years, so I really know that, the biggest challenge is when you get to the hospital and then the hospital do not know what to do or what to expect. And then you get disappointed because they are not doing exactly what you need or what the other doctor told you that this is what you're doing. So you are the one that is teaching them to do the things that the doctor or the hospital or the nurse is supposed to be telling you. And also the other challenge is them prescribing the medication, which you know that this medication will not work. So they will not listen to you because they are looking down at you to say, this is not what you need. Meantime, you really are the one who knows. You're the one who is a lifesaver for those, because the hospitals really are not lifesavers. The caregiver is a lifesaver because they know where this child is coming from and where it's going and what they need to do at any particular moment. What has been my greatest achievement is that I have socialized all my family members to know and learn about sickle cell anemia. And it's just not learning about sickle cell anemia, even getting to know what trait are they carrying. So when Chiche is not feeling well, everybody gets concerned. Everybody, they know what to do. Even if I'm not there, they know what to do with him. So that for me, bringing the family together and socializing the family to know what to do when he's got a crisis has been my greatest achievement, where everyone knows what to do in terms of when my son has got a crisis or is not feeling well, and just to encourage him what kind of food, what kind of games that he can play, what the limitations that he has, so everyone knows, so that they don't treat him as somebody who is who's got something that people should be scared of. So that for me, because we treat him as just a normal child, because he is normal. It's only the limitations that he cannot do that takes it to be a difference. And for me, that has been my greatest achievement in terms of taking care of my warrior. Actually, I wouldn't have done it any different. It's only that I would have probably known what to do earlier, or I don't know. There's really nothing different that I could have done, because I wouldn't have prevented it to happen. Only that I would have known maybe the crises that he had when he was younger, he was not going to have them, because then I would have known that there's this certain medications that you need to take, so that when they are young, they are not subjected to crises. So really, I'll just take it as the way it is. And for me, it's not just having a warrior. I also had I have an asthmatic child. So God blessed me with two things that I had to deal with: asthmatic and a warrior. And the difference between the two is that they regarded asthmatic as a crisis, was an emergency, whereas sickle cell was not regarded as such. So if we knew earlier, if we had, we knew what we know now, probably sickle cell disease would have been much well taken care of, well received in the community than the way it is now. Because they think that, somebody with sickle cell, there's something wrong with them, they are not going to live, there's stigma, there's all these things that goes on. But if I knew that time, and I have the same knowledge that I have today, I would have been able to sensitize people and say sickle cell was just a condition like any other, and warriors are just as good children as anyone else. So that's what I would have done better. I would have been more able to sensitize people about sickle cell. And also, probably if we knew then, by now we would have been having, a hospital or a ward that is dedicated to warriors, so that we are able to take care of them. Because most mothers actually, when you've got a warrior and then there are all these admissions, it's like you live in the hospital. So we needed to actually know that, or to make sure that the policies surrounding sickle cell were those ones that have got good conditions, where we have got a dedicated ward, a dedicated attention, and also a dedicated pharmacy for them, so that when they feel like they've got pain in the back, they've got a chair that supports that. When they've got a pain in the leg, there is where they can lift the leg that would be able to help them. When they've got sores on all these facilities that are there, but not where it comes where somebody has got a sore because of the sickling. They look at them with some wild eyes as if there's really something wrong with them. So we would have managed to sensitize and get to a place whereby sickle cell is a crisis, just the way it's a crisis. And I really get so angry when when somebody who has got sickle cell and they are saying, no, they can't give them certain medications. They think that they're addicted. I would have changed that if I knew earlier, because addiction comes when the doctors don't understand the kind of pain that the warriors have. And so if they know all these things, or if we knew all these things by now, we're not going to still be in ignorance of what it takes to balance the sickle cell scenario, whereby everybody's feeling good and also getting the help that they need. Well, for me, that is a natural, because that is what I facilitate. I facilitate change, and I facilitate balancing the wheel of life. As you can see here, this is who we are. We are in the center of our life, and we are managing our time that is there. So in terms of self-care, I have to make sure that I'm physically fit, so that I'm able to, to take care of even my warrior. I have to take care of myself. I have to nurture myself, and I have to make sure that this is what it takes for me to do. So what activities am I going to be doing there is what makes it a difference. I have to balance family and home. I have to do mental and education. And this is part of mental and education, when we know what to do, how to self-care. What are the activities that we're going to be doing so that we do self-care about ourselves? The social and cultural. What networks do I belong in that can help me? When my child is sick, I call someone. Please, I need help in this area. So the networks that we belong to, just like on this platform that we are speaking on, it's because we nurture those networks that are going to make a difference for us. Because through the networks, I'm able to learn the good, what the other people are doing with sickle cell, what is good, what the new medication. If I'm not in the networks, I'm not going to know that. Spiritual and ethical comes very highly for us who are got warriors and who do self-care. Because obviously the spiritual and ethical is good, because there is a scramble for Jesus, and all of us who have got warriors, we are very prayerful, because prayer helps us to manage our situation. But it just begs now, how ethical are we, so that we're able to manage or we are able, when we see something or when we experience something, we are ethical about it. So financial and career, for us to live a good life, and also for us to be able to manage our warriors, we need to earn a living. So how is our financial and career stock doing for us to be able to, to manage all these things? So the way we manage this is the way we're going to be normal. It's called self-care while balancing the wheel of life. Because once we balance the wheel of life, we are living a life of a total person. And the life of a total person just implies that we've got time for everything. We've got time to look after our warrior. We've got time to look after us, and we've got time to look after our own environment. We've got 24 hours which we have to manage. And these 24 hours, we have to manage it that the first 8 hours, it is my bread and butter things that makes us pay bills for my warrior, take care of the house rental, take care of my family, and put food on the table. That is the first 8 hours. The second 8 hours is actually pursuing my interests, the things that make me happy, but they must make me earn residual income so that I'm able to live a lifestyle that I really want. And then the other 8 hours is to rest, so that we are able to rejuvenate and come to, to socialize ourselves in the other areas where we have to make a difference. And if you don't rest, you're not productive. And so as we rest, although some of us, we don't do 8 hours, I do 6 hours because I am, doing several things, and I also need the other 2 hours to reflect, to nurture the relationships, and to make things count that are making sense for me to look inside. Because sometimes when things are happening to us, we just look at the other people. But when you review yourself, when you look inside, you're able to believe that if something is not done, it's not about that person who is not doing it. And what are you going to do about it? It's about me, and it's about the things that I'm impacting. How am I impacting other people? When I impact other people, then I evaluate in that 2 hours that I am looking, even if I'm in bed, I'm thinking, I'm writing things down, which is going to add value to my life. And when I sleep soundly, and I'm waken up by an alarm, because I want to make sure that I do good rest, and I take supplements to, to be able to, to do the things that normally I would not be doing, because we don't eat well, or the amount of nutrients in the food that we eat is not going to be able to manage me completely. So when I take in supplements, it helps me to be able to rise in the following morning. And this is what it is to balance the wheel of life, where you are finding time to do everything that you want to do. So that's my take, and I hope that you have been impacted, and I hope that you have learned something, and I hope that you're going to practice and take action on the things that will work for you and for me, and to be able to live a life of a total person. Take into consideration that we've got the warrior who is above us, and we want them to live a normal life. So thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope that we meet next time in person, where we can exchange ideas and make sure that we build that hospital, we build that, we empower those people that are able to do great things for us. Thank you so much.
We have the yoga happening right now, and we have other sessions. So thank you.